Captain, incoming message.
It was the dawn of the third age of mankind. Groovy.
Hi-ho. This is me, Kermit the Frog.
Hello there.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Not a great plan.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
Hey there, we're those sci-fi guys, and this is that Those Sci-Fi Guys show. Just two working dudes, different lives, different jobs, but a whole lot of love for science fiction and the fun that comes with. We are your hosts, and I am P.S. McKay. I don't need to do better.
You've got to do better, Senator.
I said no. I don't need to do better. Anyway.
Yeah, you got drowned out by the last bit. Turn this music off.
I know, you hate it. We're doing it as an experiment, everybody.
It's terrible.
Terrible.
It is dishonorable.
Dishonorable. Good Lord. They had some kicking horns in there.
Nope.
Yeah, I know. You're drinking from your Klingon. What is it? What do they call it? Tark? Talk? No. Yeah, what's it called?
I don't know. A tankard?
I thought it had a specific word to it.
I don't know, but it's a stein to me. And it's glorious. I'm drinking an Irish red ale for the glory of the Empire.
Drink from. See, now I'm
not the British
consulting
Empire.
AI. Not the British Empire, no. Drinking from a vessel commonly referred to as a blood wine cup, or more generally, a Klingon drinking goblet. And there we are. Okay, so no actual Klingon word for it, just a blood wine drinking cup. Okay, well there it is.
There is.
What does
Klingon.
that say? Do you know what that's supposed to say? I'm not very fluent on my Klingon lately.
I was told it means something along the lines of shut up and drink.
All right, well there we go there. So, how you doing, DT?
Glorious. Glorious, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Happy President's Day.
Yes, indeed. It's a good day. Kids on the East Coast are out of school for the week. My kids are just out of school for the day. So we don't do February vacations out west. We do spring break in March. Actually, April. So always the week before Easter.
We in Texas and Ohio, they did the same thing, just a March vacation. There was no
I think it's a Mississippi.
February.
Ohio's east of the Mississippi. Interesting.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. Wonder why that's a thing in northeast schools. We could say at least northeast schools. That's a pretty common.
Because it's wicked awesome.
Maybe it has to do with the winter and the snow. You guys got a lot of snow, didn't you? This past
We've been
weekend?
getting we didn't get a lot of snow. We just got snow and then freezing rain. And then today everything was just slick and icy. And I wiped out several times while trying to do my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. The reason why I asked, my brother, Broham Gaming, texted me over the weekend on Friday.
Yeah, how is his ham?
He's good, and he was talking about how he was going to a hockey game on Friday night, and then they were going to head to the Blue Hills on Saturday. And I said,
Which
nice.
hockey game?
The Bruins. Was it Bruins? Providence Bruins.
Yeah, they're doing that whole four nations.
Yeah, the Four Nations
thing instead of it all.
Yeah,
Dude,
USA
I don't
is
even
leading
watch
six
hockey usually.
points.
The brawls in the U.S.-Canada game over the weekend were all over the internet.
I know.
Dudes just
you couldn't avoid it.
They went broham.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Or,
I want to talk.
Has your brother gone full New England with it? Is it broham? Like Needham, Dedham.
No, it's not, because broham came from Doug Benson, the comedian.
We have that too. Wareham.
Yeah,
It's not Wareham. It's Wareham.
Wareham. Although a lot of people have been, we're not going to go into the story, but a lot of people have been trying to say the town Worcester, and they can't get it right.
Worcester.
They Worcester.
Yes, there is an R, but not here.
Yeah. The national news has just been terrible at trying to say it. Like every day.
There's two R's.
Worcester.
I remember I swear they did this on purpose. I was watching an episode of Blue Bloods a couple years ago, and Donnie Wahlberg's character and his younger brother are going to find their nephew, who's like kind of out on his own and on the run, like in Massachusetts. So they zip across the state line, and it's like, I think it. And his brother's reading. He's like, "Oh, his phone last ping near Worcester, Massachusetts." And
oh my God!
Donnie leans over. He's like, "I think it's pronounced Worcester." It's like,
Worcester.
Dude, just well, for starters, yeah, that's probably how Will Estes would have said it. But Donnie Wahlberg probably was like, "All right, I'll let you do this, but I get to slap you off screen." Oh, okay.
New Kids on the Block himself.
Welcome to Worcester.
It's hard to believe that was all a thing. Like New Kids on the Block. Oh my God.
Dude, I fucking
they were
love
New
Donnie
Englanders,
Wahlberg, man.
I love him now too. I didn't like him when he was in New Kids, though. I thought New Kids was stupid. But that's because I always took the contrarian side when growing up. That's what I did. Did I have any merit in my assertion? No, I had no merit whatsoever. None.
All you need to do is watch Donnie in Band of Brothers, and that's it. You're like, dude can fucking act. And then Blue Bloods, forget about it, man. I'll even forgive the fact that it's New York.
He's in a good movie called Diamond Men with Robert Forster. Did you ever hear of it?
No.
It's a really good movie from the late 90s. Totally recommend it. Really, really fun. Good comedy. Not a comedy, but it's got good comedy in it. I fully recommend it.
Humor, you mean? Good humor.
Got good humor. Yeah. But I recommend
it.
Robert Forster.
It's got good color.
So, anyway.
You've got to step up.
Apparently we do. So, that being said, what brings us here today, DT? If, the giant picture of you from yesterday doesn't illustrate what we're talking about.
I have no idea what you mean.
Oh my God. You did. You fucking dressed up for the pod. Oh my God. Never change, DT. Never change. You wore a communicator pin to Star Trek First Contact when we were. Let's see, that came out in '96. We were 15. Yeah, you did. You wore it.
I had brand new
at the brand new cinema. That place was packed to the gills. It was super cold out, so no one was waiting outside. We somehow were able to grab a table, the three of us. You were like, bam, there it is, guys. And we're like, aha, you did it. I don't remember.
Normally,
if I
when
wore
I
one
go
during
to one of these Marvel movies, I have a couple of Cap shirts. That's actually a workout shirt. It's it's a compression shirt, but it looks pretty good. I had a Superman one. It didn't look as good. At least not the long sleeve, because it was like that gray scaled stuff, I think, that came out with like the Justice League. I got a great Superman compression t-shirt, but I like that one. This is also a fave, just Cap shield. And I also have a t-shirt that looks like the tactical suit from Winter Soldier, which, got to be honest with you, of Cap's uniforms, that's, if you were to dull the shield just a little bit more, or the star, it'd be a lot more tactical. But yeah, it was a good uniform.
Captain America doesn't need to be too tactical. He makes up for any weaknesses in the bling of his suit by sheer skill alone.
My favorite suits might actually be from the first Avenger. Okay.
That was, well, they brought it back in Winter Soldier for a reason, because it was an awesome suit. Like,
well, yeah, the one that Howard Stark made looked tactical, right? Yeah, they paid a tribute to the comic book in the first Avenger with the tights that he's dancing around in. It looks very 40s.
Yeah, as a
hell,
USO
it could have been a
guy.
It might have even been a replica of the one from the Captain America serials made in the 40s.
I guarantee you it was. I guarantee you.
But that the one they made, for the actual Cap suit looked like it could have been a product of the 40s, right? Sure, it was red, white, and blue, but it was a little dull. But still, it was red, white, and blue. But he had all the harnesses, and he actually carried a pistol. He carried a 45, a 1911 Colt 45. That's a fucking badass pistol. And it was an army issue. It was an army issue weapon, and he wore it, throughout the first Avenger. He only used it a handful of times, but in a
montage.
Yeah. That's the only time you see him use it, but he's wearing it through most of the movie when he gets his uniform.
That was they used that shot of him walking behind with holding the shield out while they bust a Hydra base in slow-mo, and he's like shooting that gun in the trailer. And it was an advertisement. It was a TV advertisement, and I saw that and I was like, "Oh, I think I really need to see this." Like, even though it was completely antithetical to what Cap really stood for, which is defense, not offense, and protection versus, whatever.
But you get to see him grow.
But it's nice to see him be a badass.
Yeah. But that's also early Cap, young Cap who's gung-ho to, fight for his country. The little
all of
kid
those
in Brooklyn,
excuses can fly.
right?
Yes. And you also
it's
have
not
to
an
think
excuse.
about,
That's just who he was at the time.
well,
and
you
as
also
he
got to think
matured.
about this. Remember, in 2011, when this movie came out, Captain America as a character in mainstream was viewed as pretty freaking lame. Remember this. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
Did you know this? Can you agree?
Dude, you used to call somebody who was like we talked about in Office Joe. You used to call somebody who thought they were super hardcore, like the fake hard ass.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a derisive nickname to call him Captain America. And then, after a while, somebody like, dude, he really is Captain America. Some people were like, dude, this guy legit is Captain America. Like, he fucking kicked ass. We have that, but I liked it. And you know what else I liked? And just for a minute, in First Avenger, that that kind of hybrid uniform Cap cobbles together for his rescue mission behind enemy lines where he disobeys orders, and he's wearing the USO girl's helmet with the A, and he's got the bomber jacket on over.
I like that a lot. And you could see the A right behind was it the A or the star? The star right underneath the zipper. Yeah. That was a good combo right there. See that the whole thing, okay? And the funny part about, we're not going to talk about First Avenger the whole time, but what's interesting, it's funny to just pull this kind of out as a dissection kind of thing, because before I saw the First Avenger, I went ahead and went online and looked for the 1990 Captain America with J.D. Salinger's son.
Yeah.
And it's on YouTube. It's there. And I watched probably the first 30 minutes of it. And J.D. Salinger's son, I don't know if he's a junior or Mr. Salinger, we'll just say that. He played it pretty straight. And actually, I would argue that he actually did a pretty good job with the material he was given. But it was a Roger Corman-esque film, so it's terrible. But his acting was actually pretty faithful to what Captain America should have been. Did you see it for any kind of comparable amount of time to agree with that?
Matt Salinger. Like, would you concur if you saw it enough? Like, enough of it? I've seen some clips. I've seen some scenes. As a kid, I may have watched it. But, I mean, it is what it is. I think it was basically a direct-to-video movie.
Not even. I don't think it was released in the U.S.
Yeah, but, I mean, it definitely makes more sense than the ones from the 70s, the TV movies that took everything away from Cap. You know, it was like he had the stupid motorcycle helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked bad.
Ronnie Cox was in this movie. Captain Jellicoe.
Hey, Christopher Lee was in one of the shitty Captain America movies from the early 80s.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Clearly somebody needed a paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Hell, Billy Mooney was in this movie too in 1990. Anyway, so I got enough to see that he got turned into Captain America, and then he was fighting the Red Skull, and then he got frozen in time and came into modern times, and the Red Skull was still there. What was interesting about First Avenger was they basically followed the same thing. And in fact, the scene in the lab where he gets powered up is almost identical. It's very, not almost identical. It's very, very similar to what was portrayed in 1990. Very similar. I'm sitting here like, whoa, this is, wow, they really went this close to that.
By the way,
watching it was
all the technology in that lab, that green plastic that they used to look like the stuff from the 40s and 50s time frame, that aesthetic was spot on. It's one of the things I love the most about the First Avenger. And, I think that's one of the reasons why Joe Johnston got the job, was because he had already directed The Rocketeer.
Yeah, I was going to say The Rocketeer. He's familiar with that time period.
Yep.
And he's good at it. Yeah. So
same with the music.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Alvin Silvestri did The Rocketeer. Alvin Silvestri, I don't think he gets enough credit for being as good of an. I said Alan.
Are you sure? It sounded kind of chipmunky.
It was Alan. I don't think he gets enough credit for being the kind of composer that he is. I think he's right up there with John Williams. And
he's not there yet, but he's definitely one of the upper echelon of film scorers, especially when you consider how iconic that Avengers theme has become.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Captain America theme too. I mean, you're not hearing a lot of themes in movies anymore. But I think this is like the Marvel movies are like the last of the themes that we're hearing consistently anyway.
They are doing, at least in the trailers for the new Superman movie, they're doing kind of like a hard rock version of.
But that's the takeoff of John Williams.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're using John Williams' theme. So. And you know what? A lot of Superman properties use flourishes of that theme because it's so iconic, it's so identified with the character that I don't have a problem with that if it's with, some flourishes of that. It gives nods to, it's almost synonymous with the character.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
No, I
like
do.
how the Batman, the animated series, had a very similar theme to the Burton Batman movies, because it also had a similar aesthetic, and that's kind of the theme you get with Batman now.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have the Star-Spangled Man that I ever heard in this movie. They did have a version of it played in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But let's go ahead and talk about Captain America: Brave New World, which you and I both saw this weekend, opening weekend.
Yep. And I saw it Saturday morning. It's a different breed of people that see something on a Saturday morning. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I was there on Sunday morning, and I had to sit 3 seats down from Mr. Loud talking. I'm gonna nerd-splain. He wasn't even right on a lot of it, but he just wouldn't shut up.
He just talked through the whole damn movie.
No, it was before, but he did not understand how to talk at a normal volume next to the people. He's talking to the people next to him. Okay. I shouldn't have to hear word for word everything he's saying uncomfortably 4 seats away.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't.
But to be honest with you, while I was hoping that Cap was going to have a big opening weekend, I was also looking forward to a quiet theater. It was like me and maybe 3 other people spread out around the theater. I've kind of gotten used to that, and I enjoy that. Well, there's something to be said about being in a packed theater, and I definitely saw Endgame and Infinity War in packed theaters, and that there's something to be said for that. And I went to both of those movies alone, and those were packed. And there's a vibe when you're in a movie like that. I just don't think we're really there with movies anymore. I mean, there was plenty of people. It was opening weekend, and just because I chose the time I wanted, I had to wear the 3D glasses, which it was fine. It clearly wasn't designed to be a 3D movie per se, but there was enough there that made the 3D not nauseating.
Wait, was there a 3D option for you? Because I don't recall that they were selling it for 3D.
Yep.
Did you get IMAX?
No, we don't have IMAX.
Yeah, I was going to say. Huh. I genuinely don't recall seeing a 3D option for the movie theaters that I was buying them from. Anyway, what's funny? This is the first time I've been to a theater since I went and saw You Can Call Me Bill last year. Yeah. And I bought popcorn.
Well.
And I barely ate it.
Yeah. Oh, man. I powered through. I buy something bigger than I'll eat because Mrs. Kathman loves movie theater popcorn, so I always bring her back like a third of a bucket or something like that, half a bucket, so.
Oh, there is a 3D option here. Yeah, son of a bitch.
But
I didn't want.
You can call me Cap.
3D. You can call me Cap. All right, DT,
was,
just shower me with what you thought about this movie.
I didn't choose it because it was 3D. I chose it because it was the time that best fit me.
I'm not judging you on that. That's fine. Don't worry. But I might judge you on what you think about this movie. So why don't you shout it out now?
So, there was a lot of, there's a lot of media storm that comes with it. There's been a lot of issues with the production and everything. And, we already talked a little bit about Anthony Mackie and some of his.
We defended him.
Comments. We did. But it's still, you wonder if that was going to impact it. Based on the opening weekend numbers, I don't think it impacted it that greatly because they made good numbers in the opening weekend. And to be honest with you, I liked the movie. There was a few things that I thought, yeah, I could see where at times it, maybe got a little overstuffed or whatnot, but I liked the mystery at the beginning. I liked the recognition that Sam continues to bring to Isaiah.
Spoilers abound from here on out, everybody, because it's not worth it. Just keep going. Don't worry. You didn't spoil anything. I'm just throwing it out there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So sorry, spoilers, folks. If you're gonna listen to this and see the movie first. But I really liked how Sam continues to, kind of bring on Joaquin Torres as the Falcon, but also his connection with Isaiah Bradley, bringing him to light as the forgotten Captain America, and Carl Lumbly did a fantastic job in this movie portraying the, continuing the role from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. There was a lot of nice connections to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a lot of connections to the various Cap movies in the past. And of course, this is almost like a mini Hulk sequel. So there was a lot of elements in there, but overall,
all it was missing was Bruce Banner, really.
Yeah, and let me tell you, who really nailed his role was Harrison Ford. Went in, with gusto.
I will say this is probably his best performance in a decade.
Yeah,
he really put a lot into it. He put a lot into it.
He did.
Apparently, he was hell on set. He was grumpy as hell, but you know what? He kind of earned that grumpiness. So.
Well, that's what a lot of other people have said. They're like, well, yeah, he's kind of known. That's who he is. He's grumpy. And Anthony Mackie, has been like fanboying for an entire year over this, and is saying and a lot of people said that they were very surprised how excited he was to be the Red Hulk, and the director went up and showed him the renderings, and his eyes lit up and everything, and but he really did sink his teeth into this role, and this was the most likable Ross has been in the entire MCU. And there's no knock on John Hurt. He was not supposed to be likable.
No, you're correct.
John Hurt
kind of a reform of John Ross.
Excuse me, William Hurt.
I'm sorry,
William Hurt.
Yeah,
sorry.
This is a reform of the character General Ross. William Hurt did exactly how he was supposed to play it, and
exactly.
May he rest in peace. He will be missed. He did a very good job with what he did.
He did.
This is a turning point in.
Worried how they were going to do that when he died, because we all knew that was supposed to be a thing with, Cap 4, and then we knew the Thunderbolts was coming, and I'm like, well, how are you going to do the Thunderbolts without Thunderbolt Ross? And then you get Harrison Ford. I'm like, okay. Well played, Feige.
They actually alluded to the whole creating the Thunderbolts thing by saying he wanted to have Cap restart the Avengers initiative.
Sure.
By the way, the Thunderbolts movie looks completely delightful. I actually think that's going to be a really good movie.
Me too. There's also been a lot less issues behind the scene, apparently. Cap had a lot of rewrites and a lot of, anytime that happens with a movie, it can be a problem for the end product.
All right. So what did
Well,
you
I
like?
do think it.
What'd you like? What are the things that you really liked about this movie that brought you home?
Sam Wilson is Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
He really, and his self-doubt and his humility, but also like him still not forgetting to be Sam Wilson. Like when he and Torres and Isaiah are in the limo on the way to the White House. I mean, that was just fun. That was three
Fun
people
scene.
just like, yeah. It actually, I think, added a little bit to the movie because you see the human side of things. And to see them get Isaiah to loosen up, and you're like, man,
Took them 4 years.
that's nice. Yeah, well, I mean, it was just nice, and again, you also don't lose that kind of quippy, smartass that Sam Wilson has been in the MCU. That was really great. Harrison Ford was fantastic as General Ross, President Ross. I do love the nods that they made to the mustache.
That was basically them saying new character, no mustache. So
right, but it also kind of. By the way, what did you think of when they dressed him up like right after the Harlem thing, where he's supposed to look like William Hurt? Dark hair, the mustache.
that was good. I liked that. Yeah, it was.
Harrison Ford
good
looks better with a
foreshadowing.
beard than with a mustache. I'll say that.
Well, agreed for that. Yeah, definitely. Keep going.
The
Dead
villains that they had, Tim Blake Nelson's the leader, and Giancarlo Esposito's Sidewinder, both very good. I think they both needed more screen time, which would have come at the expense of the other. So I think that's where that was a friction point. I liked both of them. And of course, Giancarlo Esposito always excels at being a bastard. And the good thing is he was not a carbon copy of Moff Gideon or Gus Fring, which was good.
No, he was Giancarlo Esposito playing Giancarlo Esposito as a bad
guy. This guy had a little more charisma to him.
He was allowed to have a little more charisma than the Grand Moff, whatever his face was.
Moff Gideon, yeah. And of course, the leader was grotesque. But I guess that was the plan. They wanted more practical effect to make it. I mean, he looked almost like Gollum.
A little bit, yeah. It was nice to see them try to finally, patch that loose storyline up. After
they've basically rerouted all of the Hulk storylines.
Yeah, they wrapped all that up after 17 years. By the way, he doesn't look like he aged a bit. I know there was a lot of makeup and stuff on him, but Jesus Christ. Same guy.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. The only original actors who didn't come back are dead, unfortunately.
Oh,
so,
I did say that.
Well, but that's my point, though, is that they brought people back. There wasn't any other recasting except out of necessity. So, I mean, overall, I liked the story. I thought I very much enjoyed the movie. There was a lot of good action. There was some grounded stuff, Winter Soldiery type stuff. I mean, this movie was taking on a lot. They were trying to tie in. They basically tied in Eternals, X-Men, Incredible Hulk, all the Captain America stuff, hinted at things in the future, such as X-Men and Thunderbolts. I mean, there was a lot going on. And I still think, for the most part, they stuck the landing. I mean, was it a 10 out of 10 landing? No. But I think they got to where they needed it to be. And
so what would you...
Again, I'm not going to give my grade until the end.
I'm not going to ask you for your grade, but what would you say your top 3 favorite parts of the movie were? You talked about the limo scene. Do you have any other parts of the movie that you liked?
The aerial stuff over the Indian Ocean and over the Celestial with Sam, with Cap and the Falcon out there trying to prevent a war. That was pretty good. That was pretty engaging. Special effects, visual effects, you know, and I kind of liked the redemption stories that came in this. There was an attempt at redemption of, you know, Thunderbolt Ross. You know, you could, even though he was still a hard ass, he was still trying to be better. And you can see that in moments with both Sam trying to reach his daughter, trying, right? And sure, he made a lot of shitty mistakes.
Yeah.
Including what he did to the leader was not great. But he's trying, right? He was trying to make steps. And again, there's the Isaiah Bradley redemption, right? And in many ways, there's Sam's ascension. So it's hard not to like some of the character growth and arcs in this, because a lot of them took a long time. One started all the way back in 2008. So.
Yeah, which is interesting. What are 3 points you didn't like about the movie? I know. I'm not trying to make this a disproportionately negative thing, but you got to have some things you could be critical about.
All right, so the final fight with Cap and the Red Hulk, good. There was a couple of things I really didn't like, though. Like when the Red Hulk grabs the American flag on the flagpole and uses it as a spear, throwing it at the helicopters. That really kind of pissed me off.
That reminded me of, okay, so that was a stylistic choice that they were trying to make a point of, and I'll explain that later. But that reminded me of an episode of The Simpsons when Mel Gibson
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Yeah, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. I'm like, oh, they just did a Simpsons. So I'm like, wow, okay.
You killed a senator with the American flag.
Yeah.
It was symbolism. He was mad. That was basically what I got out of this. I'm like,
that's literally what happened. Did you think of The Simpsons too?
No,
be honest.
Kind of actually. A little with the.
But
it wasn't funny. At least when Mel threw it through the guy slumps forward, pulling the flag upright, and it's still waving. Okay. And seeing the White House get destroyed every other movie is just kind of a Hollywood trope now. So much so that it's pretty fucking unoriginal. So
I actually found it to be pretty offensive this time around. But that's me. Go ahead, keep going.
But it's still unoriginal too.
I agree. No, completely. For this time, I don't know why. I found it distasteful. But keep going.
Well, yeah, I mean, you desecrate the American flag. The guy literally, wore the American flag on his uniform for whatever 40 years, right, Ross? So it was a little much for me. Of course, the rampage through Washington. Nobody wants to see the White House get destroyed or the Washington Monument. but it is what it is. That I could live with. It was the desecration of the flag. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, Sidewinder was good, and so was the leader. But like, it was kind of like how they underutilized Crossbones, particularly in like Civil War.
Yeah, that was
you have a good villain.
Unfortunate. There's a lot of good villains in the Marvel universe, and just due to time, you can't use them all very effectively. It's a miracle that you could see all of them in the first place, but still, yeah.
You could. The problem was that they were too separated, right? What made Rumlow better in Winter Soldier was that, for starters, he was kind of seen as a good guy at first, and then he turns on you. But he's directly working for Pierce, right? The hidden henchman stuff, where they're like at opposite ends of the spectrum, and there's like no communication, and it's like they both have limited screen time. Oh, and by the way, one's goal is to like turn a supposed good guy like Ross. You could tell he was going to be the good guy because he was using an Apple phone.
Yeah. I think he had a Samsung earlier in the movie, and then later he had an Apple phone. But you're right. That's literally how you can, because Apple refuses to allow Hollywood to use its products, to have bad guys use its products.
Apple, no offense, Apple, screw you. Okay, it's getting old. It's actually ruining plots of movies.
Dude, whatever.
Come on,
you
man.
can have
Apple.
Bad guys that aren't bad guys, like redemption arcs. And
Come
everything.
on, man. Come on, Apple.
I'm just saying.
Stop being the spoiler, Apple. That's all I'm asking. Come on.
Oh boy.
Help us out, man.
All right, one more critical aspect. And I got one more question.
Well,
I did.
Okay. And let's just call it what it is, okay? The fact that there's just like no one Cap is calling either. Like, what happened to, because some of them are still around. They're still around. And I'm not saying they all need to show up, but it's like, I need you to restart the Avengers. Well, I mean, we've had things floated before, like Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel being on the phone and like taking Shang-Chi at the end of his movie. You can't. You're like leaving threads hanging, right? There was a lot of Ant-Man references, which was kind of funny. But like there's people out there, and Bruce is somewhere out there, and Wong is out there kind of playing a little in the Avengery role too. But clearly there's something going on. I mean, they might be secret Avengers or whatever, but you'd think Sam would have somebody on speed dial. And I'm not saying he needed to call them in for a rescue or whatever, but it's like, you need to restart the Avengers. He's like, Avengers.
That's just been the thing since Iron Man 3, which is interesting because I was able to watch a good portion of it on Friday night, because every time a Marvel movie premieres, that all the cable channels will start airing all the different
Marvel movies.
All the different Marvel movies, yeah. And but that's been a thing. That was a big question in the movie, for the movie that critics had. It was like, well, this is a post-Avengers world. Where's Hulk? Where's Cap? Where's Thor? Thor's apparently around somewhere, right? Like, well, no, he wasn't at the end of Avengers. That's never mind. But still, where was Shield? Those kinds of things. So we've kind of seen enough movies to be able to just say, and this is my refutation on this, which your idea is not wrong. I'm just playing devil's advocate here just for the sake of it.
Sure.
We've had several movies to go like for the last 12 years now to be able to reconcile, okay, things are just going to happen and the Avengers aren't going to be there. Like, that's just going to be it. That's just going to be what it's going to be.
If you want to tie it all the way back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where's Rhodey? An Air Force officer. I mean, they really seem to like. It almost seems like there's like two, like, branches of the MCU right now: the Nick Fury Skrull, Captain Marvel lane, and then everybody else. Like, we see Rhodey get rescued at the end of, right? Wasn't he rescued at the end of Secret Invasion? I believe, actual Rhodey.
Yes.
So he and Sam are friends.
Yes.
Friendly, right? Like, Rhodey's the one looking for Sam when everybody's getting dusted.
Yes.
And so, and again, they were both in the Air Force together. So, like, not so much where the Avengers per se, but like, Rhodey shows up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It was almost a natural, whether he's in a role as an Air Force officer or whatever role the Skrull duplicate was in, some sort of political role. But I'm just saying it's, that would maybe give you a little, okay, so Rhodey is safe now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of, I don't know if they're like holding him because they thought Armor Wars were still going to happen, but that would have made a little sense, just based on MCU history of the characters.
Okay.
Justice for Rhodey.
All right. Do you mind vamping for a bit? Because I need to go get a refill, and I'd like to add my 2 cents to this. Is that okay?
Oh, sorry.
You're a good sport, sir. You're a good sport.
Bam. Bam.
Talk about some of the plot. Do something. I'm not going to be able to listen to you, so just FYI. I'll be right back.
Well, the plot is, the main cornerstone and why it's called Brave New World is that they find this, they finally talk about the literal elephant in the room, or the celestial in the side of the planet, the Tiamat, the celestial that that the Eternals stopped from emerging at Earth. Turns out they spent the last couple of years, the countries of Earth, studying this and discovering adamantium, stronger and more versatile than even vibranium. And of course, Ross has to go throw shade at Wakanda, saying it's not just the sole possession of an isolationist nation. Nope. But that's kind of Ross's point, his legacy. He wants to make this treaty where, like, all the countries on the earth can have the benefits of the adamantium, where people have been testing it and find it used for energy and defense and medicine, all the principles and properties of this new spectacular element. And so President Ross, after his election, wants to have a treaty signed by some of the most powerful nations on earth to kind of police and, share the wealth of this element with the world equitably, which is an admirable thought. He's trying to get India, France, and Japan are the main countries he's talking to. And it really hinges on U.S.-Japanese relations, which has roller coasters during this movie. And it turns out at the one of the opening parts of the movie where Sam goes into Mexico and busts in and was trying to retrieve a package from the Serpent Society, a terrorist organization. A snake-themed terrorist organization. Boy, that sounds familiar. Didn't realize Marvel had eaten G.I. Joe. But anyway, you get Sam busting in, and instead of just securing the package, he also has to go rescue these, because it's like a monastery, so he's rescuing these priests and nuns and fighting Giancarlo Esposito, the head of the Serpent Society. And, he gets help from Torres, who dons the Falcon suit for the first time and jumps out of a plane and manages to secure the package. And the two of them secure this package. Turns out this package is adamantium. And that's why they're all invited to, they've been invited to the White House, where Ross wants to make peace with Captain America and wants him to restart the Avengers, and they want to work. He's like offering a bit of an olive branch to Sam, who's a little surprised, but he only accepts the invitation to the White House if Isaiah Bradley is brought along. So they all go to the White House, and then while Ross is pitching his plan for this, treaty, Isaiah Bradley and a couple of other U.S. military personnel and Secret Service agents in the crowd all go nuts and start shooting people. And it leads to a, Winter Soldier, or, it's a Marvel chase scene with a falsely accused hero being chased down by the government. And Isaiah Bradley is, falsely accused of attempting to assassinate the president. Turns out he was mind controlled.
Manchurian
Sam has
Candidate.
some experience with this. Yeah.
That's the first thing that went through my head. As soon as that song played, I'm like, oh, crap.
I'm Mr. Blue.
Yeah, and then I'm like, God, it's the leader. It's that guy, from Mr. Blue from
Mr.
the
Blue.
Hulk.
Yeah. I like that. It was a nice play. Plus, I kind of like that song. Garth Brooks did a pretty fascinating cover of it.
It's a nice song.
It was a good cover. It is. I mean, it's a heartbreak song, but it's nice.
I like how Joaquin just played the song just to, at the secret base, just to make sure none of them were. And Sam's like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Well, I mean, we're clear." So I'm like, "Yeah, that makes sense. All right, it's fine."
You want to know what's funny?
What's that?
Sam Wilson now gets to know what it's like to have a Sam Wilson.
Yeah, kind of a
younger, quippy, or
yeah. I know what you're saying. I don't know if that's apples to apples.
It's not. But
I know what you're saying. It gives him a charge. He's someone that he has to look after. So I guess I could get with that. Yeah, well, yeah, a mentor. Yes, I know. Maybe my words aren't exactly precise, but come on now. He literally has to look after Joaquin.
Well, I mean, they're both military personnel. Sam's been in the game longer, so he's mentoring a junior officer.
Uh-huh.
That's a good thing.
Exactly.
Cap kind of, in some ways, mentored Sam, although Sam being, I would say, a little more worldly per se, just due to the fact that he's actually grown up and lived in this, world, did, have it, was like giving Steve all these things to catch up on.
Yes.
Which is why Sam and Steve were more akin to partners.
Well, Sam was a therapist. who looked after vets, dealing with their PTSD and, transitioning into the civilian level and whatnot. Cap was a man out of time who was dealing with a form of PTSD, trying to get back into something. So they were exceptionally supplemental to each other.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
That counseling, and like Isaiah Bradley even called him out on. It's like, you give me some of that counseling shit,
Which I'm glad they brought up, because that he is a counselor, and that was his job. I don't know in the service. I mean, not in the service, but post
he was
service.
pararescue.
Yeah. So, can I go into my 2 cents on this movie?
Hold on, let me finish one point with that.
Yeah,
okay?
please do.
Then all you. So one of the things that I liked was that they did bring that back around, which they had really, with all the Avengers stuff going on, for the most part, didn't really mention much after the movie Winter Soldier. You get a little bit
Sam
of it.
Sam was practically on the run the whole time, looking after Bucky, and I don't mean to interrupt, but he was busy.
No. He went looking for Bucky after Winter Soldier for Steve, and then he becomes an Avenger, and then he's on the run, and you do get a little from him like that. You can see some of that and how things unfold in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but this is probably the most open nod to that former life of his, and also how he approaches things as Captain America, which is also, I think, why Steve in Endgame, before they go, get back together for the time heist, I think that's why Steve started the support group and was leading the support group.
Oh yeah, it was
continuing
Sam's
work
legacy. Yeah,
exactly. Which I really liked that part in Endgame, but also something else that you see is Sam's interactions with members of the military. The SEALs that he works with, that guy Dunphy, who actually is a superhero in the comics. I did a little digging after this. The SEAL
the guy
team
that was
leader.
researching the pills.
Yeah.
Oh, I liked him.
Yeah, me too. I was glad that he wasn't one of those dudes who got, turned against Sam. Unfortunately, he was killed for his assistance, which sucks. He was a real straight dude, and that's what you like. But Sam, he's talking to the prison guards. He's talking to, all these military people around, when he's working on these ops, and that just fits. That's kind of like what you would want to see Captain America, the service members, hey, anything for you, Cap, and stuff like that. But also that teamwork, that relationship. Like Sam works with the U.S. military. I mean, he's jumping out of Air Force planes, but it's not just that he's doing that, because he's required to. That's kind of who he is. He was pararescue. He was a member of the Air Force. So, I mean, I'm glad that is still there. These parts of Sam that you didn't really see much of in, when he's all wrapped up in the Avengers. Now it's back, and I like that. Those are big positives for me.
Mm-hmm.
So let's turn it over to your 2 cents.
Okay. So I texted you when I was in the theater. Number one, because you made a big point that you didn't want me to necessarily see this movie this weekend, but it would be nice. I didn't feel pressured or anything. I thought it was cute, and it's a good idea. I texted you a couple quippy things and everything. So
yeah,
DT,
course.
I gotta do something here that, again, we talked about this a few weeks ago, where authenticity is the best currency. Correct?
Yes.
In today's world.
Mm-hmm.
So please understand that what I'm trying to say is not a reflection on you in any way, shape, or form, in any bad way, shape, or form. I did text you, and I said, I think this is your movie. I didn't say it that. I said, I think you're gonna love it. You're gonna like it. And I'm pleased to know that I know you enough that I'm correct. Which
I'm waiting for the shoe.
There's no shoe. There's no shoe, because I'm gonna walk you through how I knew this, and that's okay. It's not an insult to you in any way, shape, or form. This makes me sound like an asshole already. I know.
you're throwing a lot of qualifiers
again,
out there. So
here's the thing.
I
don't like to shit on things that people like, okay? I don't, because I like when people enjoy things. It's a good thing. I don't like watching people go, oh, maybe it wasn't that good in the first place. I don't like seeing that, okay? But I just got to answer from my own point of view a few things. Now,
as
number one,
you should.
So thank you for that. Number one, I have this new picture up here. This is a picture from the Ultimates comic that was greenlit in 2000. The vast majority of the early MCU was based off of the Ultimates universe. And this is Nick Fury, designed to look like Samuel L. Jackson, with Samuel L. Jackson's permission, in the 255 universe, whatever universe it was. It was not the 616. And this is George W. right here, where they're celebrating the creation of the Avengers Initiative, and they're talking about the newly unfrozen Captain America. He's talking about, is he strong? Is he as strong as you expected, General? Stronger, sir. Is he smart? Tactically off the scale, things like that. This is George W. putting $1 trillion into the Avengers Initiative. And I was reminded of that scene, this scene in the comic, when Ross said to Sam, I want you to restart the Avengers. I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of a thing. And it's his first 100 days. He's celebrating. It's kind of a thing. It's good. The Captain America uniform from the first movie, based off of the Ultimates. The character of Captain America, though, is a lot gruffer in the Ultimates. So I didn't like this cap very much. Anyway,
What's
just
the
wanted
Ultimates
to point that
cap?
out.
Everything is
like
supposed to be.
He got
rougher,
better,
right?
Yeah, everything's a lot rougher, and it was more realistic, more adult, more violent. Like Hulk actually eats aliens and poos them out, like the Chitauri.
Oh shit!
Which are shapeshifters. Yeah, like Hulk ate them to kill them, and then made sure that they would collect his waste so that they wouldn't like regroup, and it was that heinous. So I thought that was interesting. I'm going to switch the screen now because I want to. I like this picture better. All right. So that being said,
that is a good picture.
I like it a lot too.
By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but the cap symbol, normally the little wings on the outside of the star are horizontal, but these are angled to look more like
his wings.
And also, at least that's how I'm reading it.
I didn't catch that, but you're right. And I like this uniform in particular because it's a good homage to the first uniform from the first Avengers.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the more tactical look of the subsequent Avenger uniform that Cap had.
Yes. This was not a good movie, in my opinion. I'm just going to throw that out there. They had a lot of exposition. like a lot of exposition. And if you need to have a lot of exposition to make the point of your actions in an action film, that's a problem. Like they literally had 10 minutes of them explaining the entire plot of the Incredible Hulk in the beginning.
Oh, you mean the news?
Yes, the news. I'm sitting here like,
they just did it to put Harrison Ford in a black mustache.
My God, I'm sitting here like, what is this? Exposition. Like literally in my head, it's exposition from pitch meeting. Exposition, sir. I'm like, okay, awesome.
Or how Austin Powers' boss is Basil Exposition.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's, by the way, Basil Exposition wasn't even bad at exposition. It was effective exposition in Austin Powers, which is ironic because they were making fun of the idea of exposition. Yeah, but there was a whole montage of them going through the news and all that. Like I sat there going, holy schlomoly, this feels forced. Like, wow. Okay, fine. This plot had more holes in it than a slice of Swiss cheese.
See, if they cut some of that news stuff out, they could have put Rhodey in.
I don't think Rhodey would have made the difference here. But I will throw an alternative to you later on.
Don Cheadle always brings it.
So here's the thing. So the entire impetus of this movie is that the leader was pissed off that Ross, when he got elected, didn't keep his promise that he was going to let the leader go. Because the leader was giving... So Ross had captured the leader at the end of Incredible Hulk, kept him imprisoned, and then helped him, create pills to help with his bad heart so that Ross would, be stronger later on, which ultimately turned him into the Red Hulk. And I'll explain that in a second. So his entire impetus of this was to, number one, fund the stealing of the adamantium from the Japanese with Giancarlo. So he would be waiting for the leader, even though the leader wasn't going to show up, so that Falcon could come in and steal
the leader.
Exactly. And steal the adamantium so that Falcon would be invited to the White House to meet Thaddeus Ross, and there they would have the whole unaliving event, assassination attempt, if you will. And you think that, oh, well, with Isaiah Bradley being the Manchurian candidate, no, they had 3 other people there that could have done that. So, all right, so the purpose of Sam even going there in the first place is negated at all. And Isaiah Bradley being there was just a crazy random happenstance, which I don't know why he needed to be a Manchurian candidate other than to make him be necessary for Sam to have the emotional capacity to be able to do the investigation of what happened, even though that didn't even need to happen. That being said, Sam's on a mission now to find out why Isaiah was Manchurian candidated. And then he comes across, he finds out right away where the leader is. But it just takes them a little while to drive. Takes them all night. To go to West Virginia, even though they're able to go to the Indian Ocean in several hours. Another thought process there. So they confront the leader, and the leader, spouts all these percentages of like, well, if I did this, you would have a 70% chance of this. I've countered and thought about every single possibility that you would react with, and I know you 3 steps ahead of what you are, when in reality, the writer who wrote this is not at all very smart, and all the leader did as this smart person was spout percentages and never demonstrated in any way that he was a smart individual. Not once. Now, there's a movie that did do this. Do you want to know what movie that was? And you're going to laugh.
The Manchurian Candidate?
No. But good guess. Good guess.
The remake of The Manchurian Candidate.
Close. It was a remake of Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was Sherlock Holmes, and by the way, you may find this funny. I love those high concept Sherlock Holmes movies. I love them. They're schlock, but they're delightful. And they actually show
they're fun.
They show Sherlock Holmes as a kind of superhero, which is what he really is. Because Sherlock Holmes was always 3-4 steps ahead of every single opponent in front of him, except for Moriarty. And that was when you got to the level of that they were both on the same page with each other. But in the first one, was it the Book of Shadows or?
No, that was the sequel. It was just called Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, the first one, you would see his intelligence demonstrated, and he would already be 3 steps ahead of the bad guy, even though you thought that he was in a bad position already. And then they shoot to his brain, and he goes, well, it's a good thing I'd already thought about this and this and this, and boom. Not a true demonstration of intellectualism, but at least it demonstrated someone being ahead of the curve. Okay, I can get by that. I can live with that. The leader never demonstrated.
Of course you should. He is Iron Man.
The leader never demonstrated that, and then he shows up to the Navy base where he kills, what's his name? The guy I like?
Dunphy. He
kills Dunphy. Ironically, this is kind of a sequel to Incredible Hulk, and the guy who played Phil Dunphy was in that movie. Interesting.
Well, true, but the character is a pre-existing character from Marvel Comics.
I know, just funny things.
No, anyway, I agree.
The only reason why he showed up to that base was to kill that guy whom he didn't know was analyzing the pills in the first place. But he went there to go kill the guy anyway. And then he goes, I don't know how long it takes him to get to DC from that naval base, but I guess he's driving his Dodge Silverado or Chevy Silverado down the freeway to get to the Rotary over there, and shows up at Walter Reed Medical Center to confront Falcon, like, just to give himself up, by the way. He's like
Captain America.
You're right. I'm sorry. That's the other thing, by the way. They overplayed the entire idea. They called him Captain America at least 30 times throughout this whole movie to try to convince the audience this is Captain America now, guys. Like, I don't remember Captain Steve Rogers being called Captain America nearly as much throughout the course of the entire MCU series. But they
only
really
in the
hammed
first
it
Avenger.
in here. If that.
Who are
I
you?
mean,
I'm Captain America.
And he didn't even want to say it, you know? But I'll say Sam Wilson. So Sam
Scott
Wilson's
Lang
there.
Also like to call him Captain America. I believe this is yours, Captain America.
Yeah.
Wow, Captain America.
Yeah. What was that line? Nice for me to meet you, or nice for you to meet me. I mean, me to meet you. Or
thanks for thanking of me.
Yeah, thanks for thinking of me. Yeah. See, that was a cool moment.
I'm shaking your head too long.
Yeah. That's a good moment.
I know, you're too. You're great.
And that movie, was 9 years ago, by the way. Think about that. That's fucking insane.
And it also wasn't the funniest movie in the MCU, but
it was
Ant-Man
not.
Always brought it.
He did. And so the leader just is like, okay, well, I'm gonna humiliate Ross because he didn't let me go, even though he escaped. He escaped. He didn't need to do this, but he goes ahead and he's like, and he escapes and then gives himself up at Walter Reed just because. And then here's the fun thing. So he confronts Sam, and Sam's like, enough of this. I got to go to the president. He shouldn't know why he has to go to the president. The leader never said what he was going to do about the president. He never said that he poisoned the president. He never said that the president was going to turn into the Red Hulk. So he just goes, I have to go to the president. But there's no reason why. Nothing explained about why he needed to do that. And then he goes ahead and
all in fairness, the leader throws enough bones out there to Cap that makes him think there's another shot at Ross coming out, even if it, and that's what he says, is like he's aiming for his legacy, not to kill him, but he's going after him. But he clearly, there's enough to let Sam know that shit's gonna go down, that's gonna be bad, and I should probably be there.
Okay. I mean, I can give it that much, but even then, it looked like he jumped to the conclusion real fast without that much of a trail to do that. Like, he just basically
he has one of those mats that I'm going to go jump to.
Yeah, I know.
He bought one of the jump to conclusion mats.
And then there's the fight with the Red Hulk. By the way, the portrayal of Sam being able to just slam into the ground in a superhero pose, by the way, that was real fast. It would have broken his legs. He doesn't have superhero serum. His suit is strong. It has vibranium. And by the way, it's not an American suit. It's Wakandan, which is funny. And I don't know if he used the
Captain
wings
Wakanda
to help brace the landing. I don't know if he used the wings to plant into the ground before he actually touched the ground, but that first scene of him landing real fast was way too unrealistic. And then him fighting the Red Hulk, okay. But I literally was like, he just said, oh, sun's setting, big guy. Sun's getting real low by bringing in Betty. And by the way, they should have just brought Betty in to this scene.
That would have looked a little too much like Justice League.
Well, I don't care. I mean, what are you going to do? They already wrote themselves into this, right? So what's the most effective way to actually convince Ross, rather than have Sam Wilson's words try to convince him as the therapist, really hit for the shock system and bring his daughter, whom he's been pining for this entire movie, to try to show that he's redeemed? That would have been a much more effective scene, I think. And then I'm convinced, like, she's not going to be in this movie, because that didn't sound like her at all on the phone. Well, when he was in the Oval Office,
I thought it did.
I didn't. I wasn't convinced. I thought that they used some kind of voice alike. And then we see her in the raft, and I'm still sitting here like, is that Liv Tyler? Again, I've got a form of face blindness, so that's me. I have a hard time recognizing faces. I know that sounds weird, but that being said, I'm okay with the idea that Ross had to leave the presidency and go to the raft while he worked on his anger issues or being compromised to be the Red Hulk. Okay, fine. The way that the leader tricked him in having him take pills 3 times a day for 15 years,
or
that was laced with gamma radiation, by the way. So you have a bad heart and you're taking pills that are laced with gamma radiation.
Yeah, you know, he now literally pissed his excellence.
So they literally said in the Avengers that Bruce Banner has a quirk in his DNA that allowed him to be able to absorb the gamma radiation and anyone else, it would have killed them. So Bruce Banner in and of himself is a form of a mutant already. Okay, that's how he became the Hulk. It wasn't going to work very well otherwise. This guy with a bad heart was fed 3 pills a day for 15 years.
They did say that they steadily increased dosages.
Okay. Now there is a theory that humans.
Hey, it's Princess Bride.
I know.
Princess Bride rules.
I'm adding on to that. There is a theory that says that humans, and actually most life on Earth, has a radiation adaptive gene that doesn't get activated until they're exposed to high radiation, which is why the land around Chernobyl is thriving with life. It's a thing. It's a possibility. So, okay, fine. But with what we know right now, a man with a bad heart taking gamma radiation pills.
What, man?
Giancarlo Esposito. 3 scenes.
Yes.
3 scenes. You could tell he was not part of this movie. And also, let's talk about
that they brought him in at the.
You could definitely tell that they brought him in at late and whatnot. The head of the president's security, what's her name? She looks like a young Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Well, her name is Ruth, but it's Israeli. I want to make sure I get it right. Let's see.
Batsarov.
Batsarov. Yeah, Batsarov.
The actress's name Shira Haas. She had cancer when she was a young girl in real life, and it stunted her growth. So I'm not bagging on her in any way, shape, or form in regard to that. I'm really glad that she pulled through and that she's been able to have a very full and fulfilling life. And God bless her. She's pursuing her life as an actress, and you can't ask more of that. That being said, a 90-pound woman shouldn't be able to take down 10 men, even if she was a Black Widow. And on the aircraft, in the aircraft carrier scene, she was wearing a suit, a superhero suit. Did you notice that?
I did.
That
is her comic.
Later.
Well, it's her comic, but you can see it's blue and white, so you can see why maybe they covered it up a little.
Yeah. Japan is all pissed off at the possibility that President Ross staged the whole stealing. It was really the U.S. that stole the adamantium. And
that's not a good look.
It's not, but so Japan thinks that the U.S. stole the adamantium and then staged the rescue operation to give it back to Japan to force the treaty signing. And then Japan and the United States are about to go to war over Celestial Island. DT.
Yeah.
You're a student of World War II.
Uh-huh.
What was Japan forced to do after World War II?
You see, your data is wrong. You're talking about disarmament?
I'm aware that there is a defense force in Japan of 700 ships and 700 aircraft, and several hundred ships available for its navy. But why would they go toe-to-toe with the United States at all when we have several thousand aircraft and 12 aircraft strike carrier groups?
Look, man, you just have to take it at face value that this isn't exactly the same Earth that we live on.
I can understand. Okay. Maybe things change in the blip, but all you need to do is just, I'm going to go back to exposition, one-line it. After the blip, Japan decided to rearm. Okay, fine, done. But you know who it was supposed to be. You know who it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be China. China was supposed to be the one fighting us in the South Seas. In the Indian Ocean. My apologies, not the South Seas. That's who it was supposed to be. You know it was.
Possibly.
Okay. All right. So there's my criticism.
Hold on, before you further your gripe. Japan, I think recently in the last I don't know, 10 years or so, has their government has authorized expansion to a more than defense only military, mostly due to the threat of China.
Right.
With our support.
You mispronounced permission.
No, it's our support.
I like being an asshole sometimes.
Don't put words in my mouth when it comes to tactical
I'm not
situations.
saying you said that, but I said you mispronounced permission. That being said, your words are well stated, and yes, you're absolutely correct. That being said, here is why there are parts of it where I felt like, oh, this could be a good movie. Okay. All right. There are a lot of good parts to it. Okay. The heart of Sam Wilson was there. I appreciated Sam Wilson as a character. All he wanted to do was good. All he wanted to do was stand up for what that shield stood for. And that is exactly why he was Captain America. Okay. He was a wonderful mentor to Joaquin. The idea that he was, really working hard to bring Isaiah Bradley back into the fold of society, really. Wonderful concept. Wanting him to go to the White House. Wonderful concept. Should have been brought up that the country really did him wrong by jailing him for 30. I don't even remember why they jailed him other than that he was black.
He disobeyed orders. He was and went to rescue fellow soldiers during the Korean
so he
War.
did the exact same thing that Steve Rogers did.
Yeah, except he
was black.
But his crime was being black, really.
His crime was being black. Okay.
And Ruth called that out when Sam's like, what reason would he have to do this? And she lays out exactly what happened to him.
Yeah, no, and that was an astute point. I agree with that point.
Which is a pretty valid motive when you think about it. But that's just not the kind of man Isaiah Bradley is, though.
So I wanna harken back to, we're running short on time. I want to harken back to, do you remember my comments about Picard season 2? And where the big thing about new Star Trek was, hey guys, this is Star Trek because look at this. We reference Gul Dukat. Oh, look at this. We've got Q over here. Oh, look at this. This is the Grand Nagus' scepter. This is Star Trek. Do you see? It's Star Trek. It's Star Trek. You see?
Okay.
It's the same kind of thing, but with them having good moments to try to confuse your brain that this is a good movie. Good moments do not equate a good movie. And I pointed out the plot holes, but I also pointed out how I like Sam Wilson as a character. I thought it was neat that Bucky came by and he's running for Congress and he came in to say, I love you, buddy, and like try to, give him a pep talk and whatnot.
It wasn't a ham-fisted cameo.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't a ham-fisted cameo. That makes it feel like, okay, this is real. So Bucky comes in. Here is somebody who's going to lend his, if nothing else, lend a shoulder for a few, right?
Right.
That it makes it feel a little more real, like, oh, shit's going down. Why doesn't his other friend show up to, at least it seems a little more realistic. You know what I mean?
I agree. Mm-hmm. This movie did go for a Winter Soldier feel. I think you could tell. I don't think it pulled it off very well because the plot was so convoluted and it relied on a whole lot of random circumstance, which just fell into place because plot's got a plot.
It's not as tight as
not nearly in any way, shape, or form. The cinematography was okay. Them fighting over the Celestial Island, which I think they made smaller because the Celestial Island in the Eternals went into the upper atmosphere like 150 miles or something. It was high up. It was out there.
Maybe it just settled.
It could have. You're not wrong. I'll give it that. But I felt like the special effects in that fight scene where they're punching missiles out of the sky, I can give it. People are laughing at that. I'm gonna actually give that credence. It's fine. I'm fine with that.
It wasn't
but the
a ton of missile punching.
I'm just being vociferous about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Hyperbolic about it. But the actual effects, like the backgrounds and everything, they looked super digital. That could have been a lot better.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that was a late scene that they added. And again, I found the destruction of the White House to be distasteful. I didn't like it. I can tolerate it in certain circumstances, like White House Down or Independence Day. This felt different. Probably because they had something else to say, but then they backed away from it, but still put that in some form or another. And that's as far as I'll go in that. There are good parts in this movie that can confuse you to make you think you saw a good movie. Now, that being said, if you enjoyed this movie, that's fine. I'm okay with you enjoying this movie.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm happy that you enjoyed this movie. I literally, at 90 minutes, I looked at my watch going, God damn, this is like 2.5 hours long. And it was only 90 minutes. I'm like, holy shit. It's a 2-hour movie that was still a half hour too long.
They could have streamlined it. I won't lie.
There were a lot of disjointed parts in this that they just plots together because it's like 3 different movies in one. But again, I'm not shitting on the person who likes it. Please understand that. I just don't think it was a very good movie. And I'm disappointed that they did this to the audience. Shouldn't have been this way. We had an opportunity to see a really good Falcon turned Captain America. We didn't see that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It was a little bit better here, but I don't think they aced it.
Well, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he hadn't really embraced the Captain America thing, so the government slapped up its own douchey Captain America.
Well, if this took place in the 90s, said Anthony Mackie wouldn't have been reluctant to take up the shield. I can guarantee you that. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was a product of a post-2000 world and a post-2016 world, and that's as far as I'm going to go with that. Where Hollywood went nuts. Hollywood went insane. And they started losing a lot of money after that. So.
Well, here's what I'll say. All right. Could it have been a better movie? Sure. What this tells me, though, is that Anthony Mackie can not only carry a movie, but is a solid Captain America and is deserving not only the role, but this character, Sam Wilson, his portrayal, also deserving of not only the role as Captain America, but also a possible leader of the next iteration of the Avengers.
No
Lord
argument.
knows he's got the heart to do it, which is something
they demonstrated that very well.
The remaining cornerstones don't have much of, because you don't have T'Challa anymore, who could very well have led. Captain Marvel doesn't really have that either.
Spider-Man,
Doctor Strange doesn't. Spider-Man does, but he's
not owned by Marvel. He was supposed to be one of the leaders of the Avengers, but then Sony decided to say, "Hey, we're done with this partnership" back in 2018, and it's like, "Oh no, not a good idea! Don't do that." Don't do that. Like,
Sony will realize that they'll lose a shitload of money if they don't allow him to be in the next Avenger movie.
I don't know what Sony knows anymore. I don't even know what Disney or Marvel know anymore.
That is true.
Everything's in flux right now, so all bets are off the table, in my opinion.
Yep. So, what's your grade?
C-.
All right, B+.
Okay.
And here's my grades for the 4 Captain America movies, just a heads up. First Avenger, A-. Winter Soldier, A+. Civil War, A. And this is a B+. So they all roughly average to about an A. Okay? And it's not because it's a different Captain America. It's not because Anthony Mackie, whatever. It is mostly because of it's kind of clunky at times for me. Even for me. I understand. It's a little choppy. Part of it is the production problems they had with it. But no one can tell me that Sam Wilson is not the correct successor to Steve Rogers. 100%. Anthony Mackie owns the role. I mean, another thing, too, is it's like they're not just slapping a new random Cap. This guy's been around a while. He's been an Avenger. He was friends with Steve, friends with Bucky, friends with Black Widow, all of these. And they even allude to it.
I am not against the idea of Sam Wilson being Captain America. It bombed in the comics, by the way. But if you take a look at what Bucky did in the MCU, he literally kicked a security guard up into the air and had him fricasseed in a turbine for one of the Shield jets, the Quinjets. Like,
yeah, I know.
Like, I mean, so Bucky had a redemption arc in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I appreciated.
Yep.
But there's still a little bit of redemption that has to happen. I'm actually still questioning the idea that he's running for Congress, by the way. Like, because he was literally a Russian agent. He
was a prisoner of war.
They're gonna he turned into a Manchurian Russian agent. Like, so. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to allow him to be a member of Congress. Like, it's like,
you see who they allow to be a member of Congress now?
Yeah, and don't ask that question because I'm going to answer it, and you don't want me to answer that, especially in this venue. So, that being said,
look,
it's interesting.
Hey, look, if nothing else, Bucky's going to have his own movie. From the trailer in this movie for the Thunderbolts, that movie trailer, it definitely looks like Bucky's the one pulling the team together.
Yeah, totally. And again, I'm all for that movie. I'm actually
interested. You know what? It actually kind of makes sense that if Steve Rogers is the leader of the Avengers, then Bucky should be the leader of the anti-hero. Because he's almost like the coin of Steve.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see that.
So, that's just my thoughts. I'm a big fan of the Captain America movies, of the idea behind Captain America. I'm a big fan overall of, the MCU as a whole, but also I love Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson. I like the direction he's going, but we'll just say that hopefully his next outing as Captain America is a little tighter.
Will be better served to him.
Yeah. Exactly. And maybe not slap so many other stories in there. That's one of the reasons why Winter Soldier worked so well, was that they just knifed right to the point.
Exactly. And simplicity at its finest. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not what we had here, unfortunately. And
No.
anyway, that being said, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I appreciate you for enjoying it. That's great. And I guess that brings us to the end. This is the ultimate end. So, kapla.
Kapla.
I am PSMK. We are those sci-fi guys. So join us next time. You guys keep dreaming. We'll keep working. It's out there.
So long, folks. I'll have a few more tankards of this upon the high ground for the glory of Captain America.
It's a short song. Those Sci-Fi Guys is an independent broadcast by Alpha Sci Productions, produced by DT Cabman and PS McKay. Happy Alley is music courtesy of Kevin McLeod at Incompetech.com. For more information on upcoming episodes, follow PS McKay on X at PS McKay or go to thosesci-fi-guys.com for past episode information. You can now find us on Spotify, so head on over there for our past episodes, but don't worry, you can still find us on Apple. We are also live on Rumble. You can find us on YouTube, the live video podcast, and Facebook. So please be sure to leave a like and comment. Let us know how we're doing. By the way, no one's in Singapore anymore. We have a few people in Germany, so you can talk.